I control the look, by the way.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am excited. I am blessed. I am honored to be here with Lee Curtis, CEO and co-founder of Reside Worldwide. What's up, Lee? How's it going?
Oh, it's going good, Ben. Going good. Thanks for the compliment on the light. I control my universe and my light as well, so it's perfect.
I love it. I love it. No, this is great. Lee, I got to tell you, I've admired you from afar for a long time. I've kind of kept tabs. I don't know that we've ever actually met IRL, as the kids say, in real life. But so I'm super stoked right now to have you on here and to kind of get to know you live along with a lot of our audience maybe right now. This is so cool, Lee. Thanks for coming on, man.
No, thank you. It's funny you say it. Now that you say it that way, I'm trying to think over the last year where I've done a bunch of this. I don't think I've had a blind date like this. So
a blind date. This is great.
This is a straight up blind date. So if you get if you get a call on your phone that says you have to go, I'm going to understand that you really have to go.
Stacy, call me in 10 minutes. I don't even know if we were like a hinge match or not, but we're just going to go with it. My aunt set us up, so we're just gonna go with it.
No, it's awesome. Although we probably did meet in the lobby bar. That has to have happened in the last 20. There's no way it didn't.
100%. 100%. We got people checking in. Hey, let us know who you are, where you are, what you're up to. Give your company a shout out. If you're watching this right now, get active in the comments. I want to know what your questions are for Lee. Lee has started more companies in this business, it seems like, than anyone. We're going to talk about corporate housing. We're going to talk about running companies remotely and virtually in this past year. What are some of the learnings? We're going to talk about movies too, a little teaser. So I want to know what your thoughts are. Speaking of movies, Brian Rivers came on and did a top 5 Kevin Costner films, which was highly questionable. Brian's checking in right here.
Hey, well, you just got to kind of fall back to Yellowstone right now. I mean, no acting, but a lot of great scenery.
Yeah, there you go. Brian checking in from Northern California. What's up, Brian? It's good to see you. Stacy Huff, hi, Ben and Lee. I'm looking forward to the show today. Super producer Stacy in the house, making it all happen. Tim Quirk, hello, Lee and Ben. Western New York is ready for today's show. When is Western New York not ready, Tim? Always ready. Stay ready. You don't got to get ready, Tim. I love it. Sandra Clary, hi, Lee. Great to see you here. I miss secretly papering your office around Army Navy time. What is that about, Lee?
So Sandra and I worked together for a lot of years at Bridge Street. So, Army Navy, I'm an Army guy. So, there's always a little rub right around Army Navy time. So, it's a free for all.
Now, I'm sorry, which side did you say you were on?
Oh, I'm Army. Yeah, I was an officer in the Army back in the day. So.
Okay, all right. You didn't go to West? Did you go to West Point though?
No. Thank you though. Okay. No, thank you. I couldn't get anyone to vouch for me, so I went in the back door of ROTC, and they didn't check anything, so I got through there.
Nice. Well, we appreciate your service there. All right, Sharon, howdy from Houston, Texas, and Express Corporate Housing. Janet Turner checking in from Central Florida. Shout out to Dean Van Lines. Janet, I got to call you. I miss you. Lisa tuning in from Boston for Lee Curtis.
Thanks.
What's up, Lisa?
Lisa's
another ERC buddy. Run up some bar tabs with Lisa. Felicia. Hi, Lee and Ben. Sending good wishes from Reside to Seattle. So, Lee, where in the world are you? Everybody's checking in right now. Where are you, Lee?
I am in Northern Virginia, which always confuses people since Reside is headquartered in Seattle. So it's part of my witness protection program, but I won't give the address. But no, Northern Virginia, been here since for 21 years. So Leesburg area, kind of west of Dulles Airport, closer to West Virginia, out in the country.
Yeah. Named after you, of course.
There's a Lee Street too. So it just keeps things simple, Ben.
Just super simple. Hey, where's Lee's house? That's great. That's
Leesburg.
Great. Hey, if you're watching right now, I want to hear your questions for Lee about corporate housing, about the past year. This is really, really fascinating. Lee's got a ton of experience here. Barry checking in. Look at Barry in the house.
Barry, the Silver Fox.
Look at Barry doing it, man. I love it. Barry's been on the show before. Love Barry. Michael Bilodeau, Ben and Lee, the Relo Frog team.
My daughter's on a VCU, Michael, so keep an eye on her, please.
There you go. Olivia Bakrami, happy hump day. Olivia in Toronto with Bristol checking in. This is great. Checking in from London here. Let's see. Here we got Deborah Hansen checking in from San Diego. Bob Rosing.
Bob, a lot of stress following Bob from a couple weeks ago. So I'm just letting you know I haven't slept Bob in weeks since watching yours. So I'm hoping I can hold up.
Bob crushed it. Bob
he
was
did.
So much fun.
But he always
so
does.
Good.
But he kept his glasses on, not up here, which I really was waiting for the move. But he didn't do it.
Classic Bob. I love it. This is great. I could just do the comments all day.
Just do this for an hour.
Yeah. Aren't these people amazing? Jack Jampel, what's up, Jack? Doesn't it almost feel like you're back at an event when you get to see all your friends checking in the comments?
Can't wait for the first one or whatever you want to call it, right?
When do you think, okay, let's pontificate. Let's dust off the crystal ball here. We didn't talk about this before the show, but when do you think the next time is that we're going to get to buy each other a drink in real life?
I think, sometime in the fall, some event. I don't know which one, but some event will happen in the fall that will bring some group of us together. I don't know if it'll be full blown, but certainly by next spring. But GBTA ish, Shermish, ERC ish. So one of those. Yeah.
Another thing I want to ask you. Okay, so I'm getting into the corporate housing sphere a little bit. Okay, lately.
Why?
All right. I don't know, because I didn't have your counsel prior. That's why.
Should have called me.
Okay. Yeah. Where were you, Lee? Like 6 months ago. No, but I've never been to a Chippa event, and I hear they're amazing. Yeah. What do I have in store for me?
Well, you have, first of all, it's fascinating. So if you started with Chippa and then you moved through all the big four conferences in a year, right? So, the big Chippa conference kind of kicks off the year. Then you go to ERC and you might go to SHRM. Then you go to fall ERC. You're going to see the same flock of CHPA people there the whole time, right? So it's a very networked group. It's a very kind group. It's a group that, as much as we're competitors, we're very much partners. We look after each other. There's not a lot of ferociousness in there. You're going to find a lot of camaraderie. I think things that you've experienced already from your moving and van line days, you're going to see maybe a slightly more refined version of that. But you just listen. Those van line guys know how to party. Let's just face it.
Okay.
Van line guys are different, right? But no, you're just going to see a group of professionals, right, that really lean into. It's a very complicated business that still resonates around having the heart of a servant, and these are servant leaders through and through, and you're going to find that passion when you start to integrate with these companies and these members.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Brenda has a little more actionable advice here. She's talking about learning to line dance. Apparently, it's a skill I need to master. At the Chippa conference in Fort
Everything
Worth.
became the electric slide. I mean, I know it shouldn't be, but I'm old school. But I did win a bull riding contest down there, so that's got something
awesome.
Going. Yeah, I have a belt buckle.
You got the belt buckle to prove it. There you go. That's awesome. People say your golf game's pretty solid as well.
Thanks, Dave.
But besides working on your golf game this past year, what kind of revelations have you gotten running a company remotely? Through this pandemic, we're about 13 months into this thing.
Yeah.
What's emerged for you?
I think there's a couple things. I'd go back to the beginning and just if we just turn the clock back a year, just how wrong we all were about the length of this thing, right?
Oh man,
just so wrong. I mean, I look back at notes. I keep journals and I look back and go, God, what was I thinking? Right? It was going to be over by May, then June, then July. Maybe we'll have a summer surge, maybe a fall surge.
We were 2 months away from this thing being over for 8 months.
Forever, right? Even though we didn't have a vaccine, right? So. I two things I think I'd say. One is, unfortunately, due to my age, I've actually lived through a couple of these events, even though this is more catastrophic, from a world standpoint and from a health standpoint. But a couple black swan events and things I learned early on applied, right? As soon as you knew it was coming, those that took it serious as companies, those that cash is king. You've heard how many times you heard that in the 300 episodes, right? But it is true. And then the quicker you are to just getting, you can have you can run a company with kindness, but you got to have kind of a ruthless intellect. And the second you dive into that second strata and just cut and to do everything you can to preserve the business, not knowing what's coming next. I was, not doing it the first time, doing it the second time, and then this time doing it again. It's just the right decision. So I learned that I was right the second time, but it's painful, right? You have to, you have to look at the good of the many outweighs the needs of the few, right? And it's a hard place to be, and you have to reconcile that. And I learned, I learned that companies can grow and evolve out of something that's horrific. We took a stance at Reside that we weren't just going to survive, we were going to thrive through this. And we were in the middle of a pretty big pivot with our tech platform and our in the direction we were taking the company anyway. I learned that absolutes should never be said absolutely. So, we're all going to work from home forever and we got to think that way. And it seemed like every 3 months things changed, right? You had these phases of what was going on with the business, what was going on with the employees. I think that there's an early euphoria of, oh my God, I didn't lose my job, so I'm going to just dive into this and work really hard. And then you had that second phase where people had been just working too hard. But there was still this stress of am I going to live or die when I go outside? So watching the psyche change was a learning lesson for me and becoming a lot more. I always consider myself empathetic, but a lot more empathetic to the how fragile the psychology of the employees are, and trying to adapt to that, right? And making sure that you're thinking about mental health as a real byproduct of what we just went through, right? And the tail.
You got some tips though. You talk about being empathetic, and I mean, I think it can be. I'm guessing it can be challenging when your problems are different, right? I mean, it's really easy for people at the base of an organization to criticize the people at the top, and it's really easy for the people at the top of the organization to be kind of disconnected from the people at the bottom of the organization. Is there a tip that you'd give leaders out there that are watching this on how to hone that empathy muscle?
Well, I do think it starts at the top. So again, it's always funny to get this question because you're hopeful that the people that work for you feel the same way about you, but right? You're like,
leave it in the comments.
Yeah, that's bullshit. But you tried, I mean, our culture, when Reside came into formation, which was on the backbone of Aboda, which is a 30-year-old, very successful company, I wanted to distill culture into one word, and we focused on the word kindness. So you'll hear me use that word a lot because kindness doesn't need to be explained, right? You don't need to put steps to kindness. It's just you are or you're not, right? So I think when you constantly talk about kindness and empathy together, and ask yourself how would you want to be treated, and just continue to push that down, I think it does resonate. And and then the tough decision just ends up, when you have to start making staffing decisions or other kinds of decisions, it does come back to leadership. But I think it's adopting very simple principles on what your culture is going to be, and then just making sure that you reinforce those things in demonstrating how you do things, right? Whether it's, let's face it, there isn't a person on this call that didn't live through a mass set of layoffs in the last year. You could do it harsh, you could do it kind, right? And you could do the right, you can have the right conversations. And I think not being afraid to ask how you're doing with your employee base, whether it's through polls or we do a weekly all hands call every Monday morning with our company globally. And I this is what I do. I just talk to them and try to pull out of them what they're thinking. And then I guess last, because I just went sideways on you, but one of the things we did instill was this thing called E4s, which is we don't do annual evaluations anymore. We haven't for years. We do quarterly kind of red, amber, green touch bases with every employee in the company, and it's real time connections. And I think in this post-pandemic world, in this remote world, you have to talk to your team more than you ever did, and on the things, not just on how are you doing your job, but how are you doing. right? And that I think empathizes kindness and empathy when you do it regularly.
So let me understand this quarterly E4 thing real quick. So it's green, amber, red.
Yeah,
Yellow,
so green,
red,
keep doing it, right? This is all the stuff you're doing good.
Okay.
Amber is, these are the things I'd like you to work on, and red is quit doing that. Whatever it is, right? it could be, but it makes it really simple, right?
So you're not graded. So let me just understand this real quick. You're not graded like, okay, on I'm just trying to think about reviews I used to do, right? Like professionalism, data integrity, whatever. And then you get scores by each one. You're saying here's buckets. I'm gonna say green, yellow, and red because I struggle with the amber concept. But so you have green, yellow, and red, and then everybody's got stuff in each bucket.
Yeah.
Okay.
Things you're working. Listen, we're all somewhat different. I mean, we all have job responsibilities, right? But what do you just keep doing that? You kick tail at that, right? But you got to stop doing this, right? Stop not answering email. I mean, pick a topic, right? Some of it's very tactical. Some of it's a little, the more as you move through the organization, the conversations become more robust. But
sure.
But we don't. There's no real scoring in there per se. And then, at the end of the year, we the managers use all the feedback from that to help, assess how we're going to work on, merit increases and things of that. But it's a very different process that we put in place about 3 years ago. So,
yeah, I love it. That's really helpful. I love these little tactical things like that. Dawn saying no ratings.
No, yeah, Dawn's also, our VP of HR. Yeah.
Also,
learning and development
goals.
Now she's going to school me.
Dawn, can we just get you to
school me?
Today?
Yeah, she's going to school me on a live stream. So thanks, Dawn.
No, that's great. Lee's heard about these wonderful things Dawn's doing, and I think Dawn should share them. Sharon says, thank you for that, Lee. Communication is key, especially in tough situations like laying stuff off, for sure. People are checking in here from Val's checking in. This is great, Francine. Love to hear your questions and thoughts, Francine, Val. This is great. Got a question from Rebecca on technology. We're going to get to that here in a minute. I just wanted to ask you maybe one last question, maybe as a segue into technology and future. But what are some of the skills that you and maybe your organization really focused on adapting going forward that maybe made you feel like you were ready for the future, or to get ready for the future?
Well,
skills that came out of the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're an interesting story, right? Because I think, as I alluded to, if you pulled us back 18 months, 24 months ago, I mean, the RESIDE, is the parent company to, a set of brands. The core brand is Aboda. Aboda's been in Seattle for 30 years, led by Dave Capel, who's on the show, who also is a good golfer. But it's an inside joke because neither one of us are actually good golfers. So, but it was it was a class. You're entering the space. You've been are entering the space now, and corporate housing at its core is operating companies that provide furnished apartments and in geographic areas for stays over 30 days. Fully furnished, accessorized, etc. The whole blob that's on CHPA. That's what corporate housing companies are. And that's what Aboda has been for 30 years, serving some of the world's biggest clients, and kind of doing it almost alone out there. It's kind of a strange marketplace because it's Seattle. But we started a journey a number of years ago to pivot toward and create what we consider to be the ideal prop tech to take this industry forward, and not just this industry, but anything in the short-term rental furnished accommodations market forward into the boardrooms of the Fortune 500 with a tool that aggregates, curates, advocates, does all the things that procurement, compliance, the more hard sell part of these companies are looking for, right? And on top, with all the other soft features too, great quality, great service, but all these things combined, right? So we were in the midst of this transition when COVID hit last year, and we saw, Seattle business just stop. So good news was, speaking to the resiliency of the industry, everyone didn't leave. They stayed in place. A lot of them quarantined in place. So we kind of stabilized ourselves in March, April, never really grew Seattle again. But then because we had this global marketplace that we had built over the last few years, very specific style of what I'd call built for business accommodations, that took off. And, we had an entire company whose identity was built in being a Seattle-based company, suddenly become a global company that had to think differently about who they were. So
was that a challenge from like a branding standpoint, because you were such, Seattle was who you were,
yeah.
and then we're global now.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Jocelyn to chime in and go, yeah, it's a branding challenge. Yeah, we're working through it. Because it's not just the brand of Reside and our tech platform 360. Those are kind of synonymous, but we have a BOTA that's still what we call the leased model in Seattle. Then we have buildings that we manage around the country that have all their sub brands, right? And then we have a cleaning services company in Seattle. We have a furniture rental company in Seattle. So we really are the pivot toward this platform accelerated through COVID. I mean, we doubled our business year over year and continue to. And yet we still have
during COVID, during 2020, doubled your business?
We doubled our business.
That's incredible.
So it was, but it happened so quickly that, you asked, the right question, which is, what did we learn from it? I think we're still learning from it. But I did learn that the company is, I'm very proud of the company because we've been able to, I think they've been able to intellectualize that we've gone from being this opco, if you came to Seattle and saw BOTA's offices, you would remember some of your days up, whether it was in the Farmington Hills branch or whatever, right? You'd see a 90,000 square foot warehouse full of furniture, racks, trucks. Yeah, you'd see that, right? Wow. And that's not what we are anymore, right? What we are now is a global distribution marketplace that services, these large companies 24/7. In every corner of the world. So we became a different company in the course of this. And while that was the plan wasn't to do it in 3 months.
Did the plan get condensed because everything else kind of went to hell? So you're just like, hey, we gotta really make this thing work quicker. Jocelyn, time's up, girl. Let's do this.
Yeah, she's back to the brand thing. Nice. As you see, we have a very open freewheeling culture here at Reside, where
she's giving you an amber. She's giving you an amber
where everyone can take a little pop now and then. But
I want to ask you though about the culture, right? Because going from use the word opco, operating company,
mm-hmm.
I'm guessing, from going to a what I'll say kind of a more bricks and mortar approach, like we're putting furniture in places, right, and then we're sitting on it, like from going from that business to basically a technology company globally. I mean, those are different cultures. Those are different philosophies. I've seen companies try to make these leaps in van line space. I've seen companies try to make these leaps. These are very different, in the moving side, we look at like brokers and forwarders versus men in trucks business, right? Where one's a greasy, rusty, business about getting, people on job sites, and others like technological and kind of supply chain and things like that.
Yeah.
How do you navigate those cultural challenges in the organization?
I would say we're still navigating it. Because I'd be lying if I said we figured it out. But I will say, and it goes back to what we started with. I mean, we have never quit talking about it. I've been standing in front of, and I can't wait to do a live town hall because I've been doing them like this for a year. But I've been explaining the pivot for quite a while because it's been 4 or 5 years in the making. That this is where we're heading. This is the expanded ecosystem of what I'd call alternative accommodations, which is where we really identify away from just traditional corporate housing and moving into the broader ecosystem. And I've been talking about it, but the dominant feature of our company was always a BOTA because of its size. And, it's still big by industry standards. A BOTA is still a very large single market operator when you think about, how much we still operate in Seattle, but it's just not it's not ginormous like it used to be. And it will come back. I mean, the irony is it will come back to its former glory probably next year in terms of everything firing. But we're growing now at a remarkable pace in Seattle. But when you got the globe at your disposal and you don't say no, you get to have different conversations with companies, and that's what's driving it. So culturally, finish up the question, I think the challenge is getting people to think broader, but because it happens so quick, we're already there. We're not hypothetical. So I can pull up out of our Power BI system a map and show placements, little bubbles all over the world, and say, this is what we're doing now, right? Others are doing some of it for us. We're still very much bricks and mortar. That I don't think that'll change, but it is a different mindset.
Which one is easier to operate? Which one's easier? Is the furniture in units opco or the global digitized strategy?
Just a good question. I mean, I think when it comes to command and control, obviously it's easier to have your own and be able to do it. That's why Dave built the company he did. It allows you to touch it and feel it and go out and fix it yourself. When you're managing a supply chain, it's harder to get everyone to that same place. But the flip of it is it's easier because it's not a capital intensive business. You're actually leveraging other people's, efforts and capital globally to deliver product to your client. So that part's easier. So there's some trade-offs in there. I mean, those of us that come from, I think, my original life in hospitality was hotels, and jumping on an elevator and going upstairs was easy. You could fix anything, right? And that got harder with corporate housing because you had to jump in a car and go fix things. And now you have supply chain managers in Asia and Europe fixing things, and it just
pretty please. I mean, that's more like that, right?
There is a few pleases in there, but I would say this because it's certainly, again, back to the CHPA conversation, certainly when you start to work and understand that group, there's not a lot of pleases in there because they innately are deliverers of quality and service. That's just because the business requires it. It's not vacation rental. It's a different style of business. And so everyone wants to do the right thing in our space. I think it's when we have aggregated other styles of inventory into this corporate housing, pie, so to speak, it's bringing those groups up to the same standard, which is the hard part.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. We got some great comments here. I want to hear your thoughts about what Lee's talking about. We got a bunch of people here on the LinkedIn, a bunch of people on the Facebook. This is awesome. I'm having a blast getting to pick your brain about this. I really appreciate you being so transparent and honest with us. I want to hear your questions for Lee. We've got a couple coming in here, a couple comments as well. Elizabeth Soley says, that's incredible that you were able to double the size of your business during COVID. Really cool. She said, it's good to see you. Missed getting drinks with you, especially because your tab is always open. That was a comment that got scrubbed on LinkedIn, but that was what you said.
It is.
That's awesome. This is really, really cool. We got a question here coming in from Rebecca Waller. I'm excited to see y'all's thoughts on technology in the housing experience.
Y'all's. I just read something today, Ben. It was I'm trying to remember if it was in Fast Company, but it was someone who was writing an article about how you could use y'all, and you can use all these different ways to describe a group of people, but we can't use guys anymore. So you guys,
or in New York, as we used to say, use guys.
Use guys. Yeah. Hey, so y'all always works.
Y'all's the most underrated contraction, definitely, possibly word in the English language.
Yeah. Well, then all y'all, which is a much bigger group than y'all, right? All y'all is like that's a stadium. All y'all.
All y'all's at Erewhon. Yeah.
Are you where are you at, by the way?
I'm in Dallas.
You're in Dallas. Okay. What part of Dallas?
Yeah, we're over yonder here in Dallas. I'm in Dallas, so North Dallas, so Allen, technically.
Okay.
Plano, Allen.
Yeah, I lived in Dallas for a year. So I was in Flower Mound right when Flower Mound was the farthest reach of that part of the expansion.
Yeah. Flower Mound out by the towards the airport and everything.
Yeah.
Grapevine, I think. Yeah, for sure. So Rebecca wants to know what all y'all's thoughts on technology in the housing experience are. Lee, I'm going to defer to you and your sage wisdom.
Yeah, it's a great. There's a lot a lot of conversation around technology, and and it's interesting through COVID how technology kind of became the front edge of some of the sword when it came to how are we going to deal with contactless move-ins, and how do we just not interact anymore, and I think there's been some great breakthroughs, if you will. I think on technology, I think there's been some good tests on it. I think you got to break. For me, I break it into two pieces. You have the guest experience with technology, and then you have the client. And we serve both masters in my company. We're building tech that is meant to meet the needs of these global buyers, right? And they have very specific needs. And then they have
and are those clients RMCs? Are they corporations? Are they travel departments? I mean,
all the above.
That's kind of weird, right?
So,
like
so
that's
different. Yeah. So that's interesting. I think when I thought of this show, and I've seen a lot of your cast, and there's talks about, it's very relo heavy for the right reason. It's in your title.
Yeah, it would be weird.
It would be weird. It would be weird if it was called something else. But relo, when you think of the overall size of the the furnished industry, whatever you want to call it, alternative accommodation, short-term rental, this convergence of corporate housing, short-term, service departments, all these things are essentially the same product, right? They just get delivered to different buyers. So when we have, when we think of how we deliver that product, it's again, how do you create the right aggregation platform? Your client is asking has become super exposed to a bigger market, and we got to go. So I think I have to say Airbnb, then everyone has to take a drink. So I'll say Airbnb. Yep, everyone has to take a drink. It's like being on Andy Live or whatever, that Bravo Live, but they've done us a favor, right? Because they've in my industry, our industry, they've educated an entire marketplace on this idea of furnished apartments, but they don't quite know how to get there. And then you have the client asking for things that have been brought forward by Airbnb and VRBO and others, and there's client facing, and then there's back end stuff, right? So the client facing stuff is the things they think they want, right? Real time. So I'll just throw it out there: real time booking, right? Everyone talks about it in this compressed corporate housing space. You got to have it, right? So, but I'll tell you, we can deliver it all day long. No one actually uses it, right? Because it's not.
Why is that?
Well, because there's a couple things I think. One is you're not talking about booking a 2-day rental into a JW Marriott in downtown Austin, right? You're talking about a 30-day, 60-day commitment that could broach $10,000 to $15,000. It's not a look at it, book it sale, right? It's a look at it, understand it, consult with whoever else might be coming with you, and then get approval to spend $15,000, right? When it comes to click to book stuff. And I just don't think, because people want choice, they want to look, see what's available. You have a very compressed inventory market in this space, and that doesn't necessarily change because of the financial economics. You're always going to have tight inventory, but it's always available. You just have to do the work to get there. So I think it's a big spend, and I always wonder, because I see these, is it Carvana? Is that the site?
The cars,
yeah. You just go online and buy a car, right now, and it shows up at your house, right?
Yeah.
Is that real?
Yeah.
I know they're getting money.
Listen, let me tell you, because you know what, you bring up a good point earlier, right? You're like, who's going to make $15,000, purchase with the click of a mouse and go about their day as if nothing happened, right?
Right.
And I'll tell you what, my neighbor bought a car on Carvana, and I was in Michigan. It was like I don't know what it was, a Dodge. I don't know, not a Durango, but like something in the middle there. Any Avenger or something like that. Anyway, buys his car on Carvana. They truck it to him from Atlanta. They drop it off. He's thrilled. And he said the price was good. Yeah. And he's thrilled with it. And to me, you're right. I don't know that I would buy a car on Carvana. But I think that behaviors are changing.
I agree with that. But I think just because some want it doesn't mean everyone wants it. And
Oh,
again,
for sure.
I'm just old enough to be cynical, so I
Well,
just I have to apologize
let's
for
stay
that.
there. Let's stay there, Lee, because 20 years ago, let's say 30, let's look at 30 years ago. How much did we trust the internet?
Right. True.
And then let's look at 20 years ago. How much did we trust the internet? Putting credit cards in the internet. And then 10 years ago, and then today, right? And I mean, to think that the iPhone's only what, 12 years old,
Yeah.
you know, and now this thing's got my retina scan, my thumbprint, it probably knows how I sleep at night, and all my credit card information. I don't remember a password anymore. It just looks at my face and says, yep, you're good. You know, it's like the bouncer at my favorite club in college, like, yep, you're good. Like, so I mean, I think that, so I agree with you now. But, you know, one of the things that I know that you were talking about is kind of like what's next and then what's after that, right? It's like, so I think that there's a definite group of people that this doesn't work for, and there's a group of people it does work for, and the proportion of people that fall on which side of the aisle is I think fluid. I think it's changing.
No, I think, well, I think there was, my comment on that would be, I think there's always a group of people percentage wise that would take that, take that click, take that, whatever you want to call it, through history and say sight unseen, I'm good with that. Right. But I think, especially as cars become, I mean, I just saw something the other day. I think the average price of a used car in this country, jumped like 25% in the last year. I mean, we're up to like $30,000, $40,000 new used cars. When you're spending that kind of money, again, unless, like, I have a pickup truck, right? I have a GMC Sierra. Would I need to drive another one to buy another one? Probably not. But if I want to just jump over to Dodge, you darn right I'm going to go drive it, because I've been brainwashed to think that it's only GM, right? So I don't know so I think you bump into stuff, right? You could always buy wine on the internet. Why do you have to taste it? And I think we're still human. We're tactile. We want to still feel.
But look at how many wine clubs are popping up.
True.
You never tasted any of that stuff. Some guy named Gary V starts a wine club, and we're all texting him our phone number. Janet Turner's putting her credit card in the phone,
right?
And all of a sudden, a bottle of wine shows up, and she likes it, and she's picky.
Yeah,
Let me tell you, Lee.
Yeah, no, I think the world's big enough. There's enough of a pie that every one of these things will work, right? But I still think there's a group that will want. I think you have to be. So maybe back to the tech question, bring it all back. I think your technology has to take into account that not one size fits all, right? And how do you adapt to a changing workforce? So the proclivities of procurement today, which may very well be a baby boomer on their way out, isn't who's going to follow them. And the tech you just built for this person, right, isn't going to be the tech that this person. So you're going to have to be nimble with your tech, and not put a stake through it and say it's done, because it's never done.
You're right. You're right. And I also agree with the thing that you build some things to sell it. They call it brochureware. And then when they get in the door, they're actually using the old service. But you got to be able to check the portal. You got to have the portal. You got to have the, whatever. And then they actually end up using something else.
Yeah, the things we have built, and I won't name names, but the things we have built that would allow seamless download of information on a daily basis still get distilled into an Excel spreadsheet and delivered, because that's what they want. They said they wanted this, but they actually just want this.
Do you know how much? I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, but here it goes. The amount of this business that's still done on an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh,
we're all building portals and whatnot, but it's like it's all being done on an Excel spreadsheet. And God forbid you try to send somebody an email that doesn't have a spreadsheet in it and it has pictures or something or links. Oh man, you would have thought you kicked their dog. Jocelyn Quall says wine is how we got through the year. She's right about that.
Well, Jocelyn also had a baby in the middle of this too. So, she and COVID. So she's had a busy year.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious, Jocelyn. Bless you. Jack says you are correct. Technology automation of instant booking depends on who is the end user. We too often make generalizations and all have a different agenda.
Yeah. I mean, right. I think it, for us, our view of delivering product hasn't fundamentally changed from doing it the way we did it in Seattle, but now we just do it globally, is getting the right fit, right? And some fits are a little more bespoke than others. And especially when it comes to a 30, 60, 90-day stay, it's one size does not fit all. And I think that's where, platforms started out with just aggregating things, right? And then, we have a curation view toward our product. So we're trying to help people through it. So we're not trying to be so hands off that the automation just assumes. And then we're there at the back end. We call it advocate, but we're there. We never go away. We're kind of like a hawk, just kind of floating over the transaction at all times. Because, in 2 days, you can go to the JW Marriott and something go wrong. You don't carry a check out. If you're stuck there with your family for 90 days, you need someone kind of guarding things, because what worked today doesn't work tomorrow. Suddenly the Wi-Fi just goes off, right? Or, you have a plugged drain, or any number of things that happen in an apartment over time.
So I got to ask you, Lee, and you're probably the perfect person to answer this question, but what role does trust and reputation play today?
Well, first of all, shout out to Cliff Thomas. Thanks for joining. He's a good buddy of mine down in the Carolinas.
What up, Cliff?
Best laugh in the industry if you ever get a chance to meet him. I mean, if there's an Oscar for a laugh, it would be Cliff. He'd win.
Can we get Cliff on the line, please?
Yeah.
Stacey, can we get Cliff? Just kidding.
And his beautiful wife, Belinda. Trust, reputation is everything. I think that is what you're selling, whether it's in an apartment that you have in Dallas, Texas, or whether it's something that you're doing in Bangladesh. You're the only reason they're using you versus just going direct, right, is they trust you. And your reputation that you've built over time allows that trust to turn into business. And it's a very fragile state, right? It's the old Janet Jackson song, "What have you done for me lately?" And when it comes to these sort of transactions, seems to always come to the top.
Now you got to be singing Janet Jackson. Cliff had a 2-part comment here, and back to the Airbnb drinking game. He says, how do you see Airbnb impacting the furnished housing industry as they begin to make inroads into the corporate business?
Man, that's the $1 million question, right? You have
maybe a $1 billion question,
multi-billion-dollar question, right? What originally thought they'd come out at 30 billion and or $59 a share, and we went to 165, then 210, all in the same day. It just tells you there's an appetite, right? That's what I get excited about. So where I sit contrarian to a lot of my peers is I'm excited about what Airbnb is doing, because the more people you get to think about something different than going to the $600 billion hotel world, the more chance there are that we can benefit from that. So I think their halo is good. I think B, they have some natural challenges with managing hosts because of the nature of the product. But I think they're smart enough to figure that out. I think they are. I don't think there's any one boogeyman in any industry that can hurt you. That can drive you out. We've seen it over and over time. Everyone gets, this is the latest. Airbnb can put us out of business. Before that, it was extended stay hotels. We're going to put Residence Inn. If you think about it, Ben, why didn't Residence Inn just demolish corporate apartments? Like, why? It's a perfect product in many states and many stages, right? But people want.
Why answer that question?
Yeah,
why didn't
people want location, choice, and experience? A Residence Inn can only do that in one corner, right?
Yeah, there's no walkability there. There's no neighborhood vibe.
No, people want. I think in the extended stay arena, people want choice and experience. I think that still drives a lot of the decision making. And yes, I think Airbnb can give that, but it's in an uncontrolled state. And corporate, if you go to just pure corporate decision makers and why they choose corporate housing, a lot of it has to do with duty of care, compliance, vetting. The product is a built for business product that is taking care of a business traveler. Airbnb's really a leisure product that's working its way toward business, but it's very inconsistent. It's got I think every subvertical of housing has its place. It's just how do you get those things linked up with those who need it?
Great points. I would say to your point, there's not one boogeyman, but there might be two. When I think about like the cab industry with like Uber and Lyft,
Yeah.
right? When I think about retail, I think it's gonna be Amazon and Walmart. When I think about, I think there's room for two usually, but
even Amazon,
is it Samsung or Apple? It's like,
but even Amazon, right? I mean, Amazon's still, just a juggernaut. But I think, the death of retail is slightly overstated. I think retail has had to pivot to, you can't be vanilla retail, right? You have to create a reason for the season, so to speak. And you got to you got to be able to bring people in, your big box
Kmart.
Yeah. I mean, your big box is probably dead, right? Because that was all commodity items, but, boutique, I think, boutique experiential sort of, retail, whatever it is, hotels, car services. I love Turo. Turo's another awesome. I don't know if you've looked at them or know what they are.
No, I got to look at them.
No, dude, Turo is the Airbnb of car rental. So if you say you have a car you want to sitting in your driveway that you're not using and you just want to rent it out to people, they have a platform to allow you to rent out your car to other people. It's a car sharing marketplace, right?
Can you do it with like high end, like probably, right?
Yeah, you can get whatever you want on that.
Nice. Could I get a GMC Sierra in Leesburg, you think?
You could. It's got very low miles because I live in an airport.
Now by the time I'm done with it. Anyway, let's see. We've got another. Tom Brune says Airbnb.
Yeah, and Tom, I don't think they can guarantee. I think insuring it is a very slippery slope for them. I think they can insure choice, but I think you're dealing with, a majority of their hosts, 75% of the hosts are individuals. And their primary MO is to make money on whatever they're selling. It's not about service delivery it's money first. And I think you're just going to you always have a collision. But by the way, the market's spoken. It's a powerful platform that it definitely has its place. And I think, the corporate housing world and the worlds around it can learn from it, but I also think we're distinct in what we deliver to our corporate clients.
We've got a lot of really good comments coming in here, so I'm just going to totally ignore any scheduling constraints, and we're just going to go long, I think, here. Farrell Elliott says, we've seen Airbnb. The downside is there isn't consistent support if something goes wrong. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I also am seeing that to some degree with some of the platforms that are coming in now that operate as marketplaces, connecting clients with operators, but then they're kind of laissez-faire there. So I think we also were kind of, as an industry, flirting with some of those.
Well, and again, you're kind of, I don't want to. This is supposed to be a conversation, not an infomercial, but I will say that my personal approach to that and the companies that I've run. We've never the second you say you're in the hospitality business, if you don't have 24/7 support, and I mean real support, you're not doing your guests and clients a service. Too many people have nowhere to call in today's world on any level, right? I mean, even the big A, you got to work to make that call. In their world-class service. So you want to have access to back-end support. If you can afford not to outsource it, do, because I think there's a big benefit to having your people answering your clients' calls at 2 a.m. when there's a problem.
I want to kind of go more macro now. Carolina Savoyova, what's up, Carolina? Hi, Lee. Why do you think that Fortune 500 companies are increasingly opting for technology solutions to source corporate housing? Why is this so hot right now?
Yeah, I think this industry has benefited from the time lag of technology for probably 10 additional years, where if you kind of look at other industries that have been held to a high standard when it comes to corporate procurement, there's been push toward platforms and more tech-based solutions, and ours lagged because the industry was just more cottage in a lot of ways, right? There's a lot of smaller companies that make up the ecosystem of corporate housing, which is a positive because what they can deliver locally, like what Cliff can deliver in Charlotte, North Carolina, can't be delivered from across the country. It's delivered because he has a great product. That's been the benefit, the cost benefit. But I think as the pressure has come down from the other pieces of the buying puzzle, so HR is the soft side, obviously, right? And the groups around it. But then you got procurement, compliance, risk management coming in saying, hey, we need to control what's happening with not just the money side of this, but what's happening with the risk side of this transaction. Everyone else that we work with has solved that. If you think about their corporate travel departments, they use big companies like CWT, et cetera, all controlled, all vetted. It was just time for corporate America to say, it's time for this big spend that's now being accelerated because of the Airbnb, everyone drink, phenomena. It's because it was accelerated. It's now at the top of everyone's mind. And, there are in CHPA, there's, close to 400 providers, globally, there's thousands of providers. A Fortune 500 company cannot manage that supply chain without building an entire company to do it. So they're looking toward technology to connect the dots between, local corporate housing and service apartment and other alternative providers into a single technological platform that they can then manage, and top-down manage their supply chain or the supply chain of the provider. It's just natural evolution of I think almost every other buying process that a corporation buys. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, right? If you're buying paper, you probably have a single account if you're a Fortune 500 company.
So really you're viewing the Fortune 500 companies' adoption of technologically enabled solutions is really about them trying to consolidate their supply chain into one throat to choke, and technology just so happens to be the platform to do that.
Yeah, the technology is the throat, right? And the operator of that technology is the throat. So in our case, it's Reside, but then we have 800 suppliers functioning within that ecosystem. We work with each one of them to deliver for that client that product line. I mean, we just recently stroked a deal, and I can't say who yet, but a large entertainment company that was running 26 different MSAs with 26 different suppliers globally, to just take care of their travelers and to take care of their productions. And it's too ungainly of a job for one person or even a group of people anymore, all running it, to your earlier point, off Excel.
Yeah. Nice. I sometimes think that the technology awards that I see being given out all the time by RMC should really go to Microsoft. I think if we were being honest, Outlook and Excel would win. Yeah, would be sweeping 10 years running. Outlook and Excel. Oh my gosh, that's just too true.
That's true.
Yeah. Let's see. I've got a question here that's actually first I got a what up, Lee, and then Darren's awesome. And then I've got a Melanie.
By the way,
here.
Darren, really good golfer. Now, in like true good golfer,
like actual good golfer.
Yeah, like he's really good.
All right, one less thing I can do with Darren. Melanie, late to the game today, but sending shout out to Lee. I've got a question here that really fascinates me, and actually, I've got two questions here, and that's why I said we're going to run over because I just want to answer these. Tanya says, "Hey Lee, as we continue to see Relo continue its creep into suburban remote resort living, what top tech investment should the smaller regional operator make to participate in corporate housing economy?" And is TOP an acronym or is it just an emphatic top?
Yeah. Well, first of all, hey, Tanya. Tanya used to work for me at Bridge Street years ago. So great to see you back in the biz. What top? I'm gonna go with top being just big word top, right? Tech investment.
Right. Yeah. Me too.
Creep into corporate resort living. What top tech investment? I mean, listen. I think if you need to have a property management system that is nimble enough to work in multiple verticals of supply. So, if you got urban, you got suburban, you got resort, you got hotel. I mean, you'd be shocked, Ben, at how much hotel spend actually runs through the corporate housing industry. That'll be the big aha for you when you get closer to it. And I don't get it, but it doesn't matter if you're number.
So when you mean corporate housing companies booking hotel rooms?
Yeah, booking hotel rooms at, in areas that are remote, which makes sense. We always use the joke of Paris, Texas, right? There's really no corporate housing in Paris, Texas, but you can get a red roof inn down there.
I just drove through Paris, Texas this weekend on my way back to JW Marriott in Austin.
Well, next time you drive through, you take a picture, because I joke about it, but I've never seen it, so I probably.
You also drive by Italy, Texas as well.
Okay, yeah. But the other side of it is there's a lot of companies that are, decent sized companies that, because of their reduced, they don't have the $20 million, $30 million hotel spend. They might have $1 million or less a year. They don't get any love from the TMCs. For some reason, they come to us, our industry, to run small little hotel programs too. So I think I think your technology, Tanya, has to be nimble enough to be able to support all the different sorts of requests you're going to get, so that you can manage the different product lines. Because the idea that corporate housing is, a Class A community, fully furnished and accessorized, located in urban centers, as corporate housing is no longer, if it ever was, true. It's every idea of furniture you can furnished living that you can come up with, and you just have to be able to manage all of it differently.
Yeah, I was talking to corporate housing experts across regions all over the globe recently, and I was not surprised to hear that remote locations were an issue for them, but I was very surprised to hear that it was an issue in the United States.
Yeah.
But then when I got to thinking about it, because I just drove from Detroit to Dallas, you pass through a whole lot of flyover country, but you pass over a lot of area where we're sending oil and gas, agriculture, Walmart store managers. I mean, whatever, and they need a place to stay.
Yeah, there's a lot of providers both in and out of the space that are either in or out of corporate CHPA that, at the heyday of, the oil booms in Oklahoma and Texas and all those areas, they were housing, tens and 20s of thousands of these oil field workers in ad hoc housing solutions that popped up all over the place, right? From traditional old school man camps to the more resort style versions that grew over the years. A lot of the companies that are on this call were managing that process in very remote locations. And I've actually, experimented with bringing, even from the UK, there was a thing called the snooze box, which I was super excited about, which was a reclassified container that could literally be dropped in, and you could build a hotel out of it. And
right.
Because
like units, stackable units.
Yeah. Yeah. This company actually did all the housing for the Olympics when they were in London.
Wow.
The problem is, London's a long way away from everywhere else, so it's hard to get those containers shipped, but it was a good idea.
Well, if you want some containers, just go down to Port of Long Beach and you'll find you a bunch of containers. I'll tell you what. Farrell says, in the long-term rental business, we have exploded in the last 8 weeks. Are you finding the same increase in corp housing? Also, Diane Ayers says, hello.
Diane, hey, Farrell. We have seen April has been the tale of two cities. So I would say, everywhere from last April till now has been, fairly consistent in our Seattle market. We've kind of leveled out and just rolled. The last 2 weeks has just exploded. So the green shoots are popping high through right now. I think that's, probably everything you've heard in the last 6 months been about, consumer optimism, COVID optimism, vaccine optimism, all these things keep the fire burning. I mean, what today the Fed said they were going to hold rates again. That's awesome. Consumer confidence is up 14%. So, savings are an all-time high. So you have all these things, right? Just building up like we've been talking about. We're seeing it. So I think we're at the very beginning of what hopefully is going to be a pretty remarkable recovery year.
What does this year look like? What does this summer look like? And then what does the rest of the year look like?
Yeah, like I said, 2 weeks ago, I would have said it would have been a slower burn. I mean, again, the last 2 weeks have just shown that it's coming quicker than we thought it would. You know, I think the vaccine numbers are solid. I think all these things conspire to just creating, I think, just emotional comfort that things are going to be better. And I think, I've been traveling, Ben. My first trip was last July. So I probably should have written my own book about each month and how different it was. But I can tell you for my last trip, the airports are packed. So I think everyone that wants to travel is traveling right now. And I think that's the front edge of this summer. So, I think we could get back to some version of normalcy, of relo coming through the summer. I don't think we'll hit peak numbers, but you're going to see a much fluffier summer than I think we all thought we'd see. I thought we'd see a slight lift, and I think that bubble is going to be a little bit bigger. What I don't know, but I assume, and what we're planning for, is that bubble won't taper off. It'll just keep stepping up through the fall. And then
pent-up demand just finding its way into the market.
Yeah, I mean, we sit pretty close with some big companies, and we talk to them a lot. And I mean, the thing that was interesting about what we saw during the pandemic, we're still in it, but what we saw in the early stages was nothing ever stopped. So it's interesting. It's you would think in a global pandemic where death is imminent, things would just stop. And the fact that things didn't tell you that minus is something even worse. People are still moving because they're mission critical. So that mission critical group is a pretty big group. And now they're just more of those people coming out. I still think they're mission critical. I don't think we're into the laissez-faire group. I think this is still the group of people that are just have to get back to where they need to get to.
So the murmurs that I'm hearing are that asset-based companies or asset-based services in relocation and really corporate housing, household goods moving, things where there's the finite capacity are going to have a very difficult summer, right? Because all this wave of confidence and things happening. I mean, we're kind of going as an industry from being asleep to running in a sprint, right? And it's like imagine getting woken up and just, all right, go 40-yard dash, and that's going to be a mess, right? So then there's been kind of a bit of disinvestment and people playing things very close to the vest and being very gun shy, because especially after getting burned with leases and things like that last year. And so there's a lot of speculation that the inventory just won't be there when the lights get turned on, right? And there's not going to be adequate notice given, and it's just going to be all right, ready to go now. I was on hold for 9 months. I'm ready to go, and do you see that happening?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, we're living it right now in Seattle. So, we talked about it. We planned for it. We planned for it to be a little bit later in the year, so it's happening earlier. You brought up two different things, right? One is, can you just physically be ready for it? So, we probably have over 25 open recs right now for hiring. So, both in our platform and in our local business. So we're on a hiring spree right now. So just getting people, right, is challenge A. B is, getting the inventory, and that'll become more challenging based upon how you, and I'm just saying, me as a company interacted with my landlords during the downturn, right? So everyone's going to have their own journey there. I think that's one of the questions I get asked a lot on different panels is, what's the industry going to do about repairing relationships with multifamily? And I said, I'm kind of cynical about it. Like, it's not an industry thing. It's a company thing. How did you treat your landlord personally as a company? Did you leave keys at the door and walked away? Did you say you weren't going to pay them? Did you negotiate with them and work out a payment? What did you do so that you could be in business when the business comes back? And I think I don't have an answer for how everyone behaved. I can certainly tell you from the narratives that I've had or the conversations I've had with different landlords. When I say landlords, I mean, we're talking, the names, right? The big multifamily names. They're going to take a very critical eye toward those that just left them in a lurch. And they're going to take a more, beneficial eye to those that, came to the table and worked something out. So I think the inventory's there. So to answer your question, it's there. Who are they going to give it to is the question. And then of the ones that are willing to take it, how much are they willing to take? So time will tell, I think, on that.
Are smaller landlords going to be the beneficiary of some of these corporate housing companies not getting the credit or the terms that they're accustomed to with the larger names?
Meaning,
or does it even matter? Or does it even matter because occupancy is going to be like 100% everywhere, so it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to eat. Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
It depends, I think, by market, right? Because some markets are still sitting on a glut. You have markets like New York that I think are going to struggle for a while. There's just an exodus. I think you got markets like Seattle that had a lot of building that are starting to fill up but aren't yet. I think again, it's so hard to paint a stroke across this because I think every market has a story. And every company has a story. So I think it's going to really depend on, how you negotiated your way through the pandemic with your supply chain. And,
I want to ask one more question along those lines though, right? Because you're talking about, every market's different. Something came up and I can't think of anyone better to answer this question. Something came up when we were talking to Jack, Jack Jampel. He's doing his other side of the coin. Rooms in Clubhouse. I don't know if are you on Clubhouse, Lee?
I'm not yet, but I feel like I soon will be.
It's fine. It's all the rage. It's all the rage, Lee. Don't worry. Text me. I'll hook you up, bro. All right. But no, he does these other side of the coin things. We talk about whatever. And one of the things we were talking about was corporate housing in there. And it came up that corporate housing, like moving, I keep making this. It's very interesting, the parallels. Doesn't always do a great job of explaining its value. And people think it's too expensive. Clients think it's too expensive, right? And I think it's actually one of the best values in travel, period. But people think it's expensive. And we were kind of talking about that a little bit. And we were talking a little bit, okay, how do we repair that image? And how do we kind of market to that and actually help people understand? And how do we get in front of some of these conversations with some data around the average cost in marketplaces and things like that? And I kept thinking about what the Relocation Directors Council does, the RDC, with real estate. And they kind of do their annual, statistics come out, and they kind of do their road show, and they go around and they say, here's what's happening in Seattle, here's what's happening in Chicago, here's what's happening in New York, and they kind of give people a feel, and it seems kind of to be a central repository of data around these things and a trustworthy source, and there's not a lot of slant. It's just kind of industry knowledge. So my question to you is there a way, in your opinion, that we could do more of that kind of thought leadership as a corporate housing industry and tell our story in a cohesive, unified manner with some data around it to kind of educate our large enterprise clients?
Well, as the former chairman of CHPA, I'd pay you $100 for that question. So that's a great question. So I get to do a CHPA infomercial. So thank you.
I'll take it in Scotch.
Yes, that's right behind me. So, we spent the last 2 years investing in building a business intelligence platform called Datalytics. And Datalytics is CHPA's real-time data platform. And so to fast forward to the end would be yes to everything you just said. We're in the first 3 innings of data collection. So the system is built. It's powerful. We've loaded 25 companies within the U.S. and globally into the system that's now feeding real-time statistical data every single day. So think of like the Star Report from the hotel industry on steroids. So this year is a push of getting maximum acceptance of the platform and data input, so we can create a data-rich environment, so we can tell that story in real time. And because it used to be, we did this census that would take, we'd wait till the end of the year. We'd do the census in January, February. We'd synthesize it, and it would be displayed in May for the previous year. And you just lost the audience, right? This tool will deliver it on the day. And, we have data scientists that actually work within the company that we've employed that are ready to start pivoting different databases against this data to tell that story. So you're spot on with the question. Any support you can give as you're plowing through the corporate housing world will be appreciated, because we need max participation.
Well, I mean, happy to support, happy to kind of bring some of that thought leadership forward and give it a platform here, So let me know.
Because that data that data allows us to talk to, trade. It allows us to talk to the Wall Street Journal about this is what's going on, right, in the world that we participate in as a credible source. So that's
well, and now we become the source of that data, and not
PwC.
Airbnb
or you see PwC put out a service department report every couple of years, and
as a moving company, when I opened up USA Today and I saw that U-Haul was publishing the migratory patterns report for the United States, I'm thinking to myself, like this, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Hey, did you see, by the way, that people in Hawaii are renting U-Hauls because the car rental prices are too high?
No, but that's hilarious. No, that reminds me of when I was running a moving company like 8 years ago, and the guy was stealing our rental trucks and taking them home over the weekend and using as his personal vehicle.
I have a story like that. I have a story like that too, but if Rob, I don't think Robin Joliet's on the call, so I can't tell it.
Yeah. I had a $500,000 truck rental bill one summer, and I'm like, what are these truck rentals? How come we got 5-day truck rentals on a Saturday and Sunday? Turns out Jock was using the truck anyway. Okay, this is awesome, but we have a top 5 that's even more awesome, Lee. Okay, we really buried the lead today. All right, Lee. Whatever is what it is. Lee, you got a top 5 for us. What's your top 5 for the day?
Well, we did 2 top 5s, right? We hit a lot of it. So, do you want to do the movies?
Yeah, it's just right there. Yeah, make it easy for you, Lee.
Oh, top 5.
It's right on the screen. I'm pretending like I don't know.
No, I'm just fast. No, I found myself staring at your tie, so I didn't look down.
Sorry, yes, it is a fine knot. I'll move this for you. Yeah, there you go.
Hey, go ahead. I got one of these guys too.
I know. Is that a Yeti, or what is that?
Yeah, it's a Yeti. It's the blue.
That's nice.
I get a lot of jokes. I get a lot of jokes for it though, so I'm happy that it's in display with yours.
You know what? No, you look good. You look good, Lee. All right, top 5. Number 5.
Love Actually. 2 reasons. One, Richard Curtis, the director, also the name of my father, but nothing related. But really, some of the finest Christmas acting ever to hit the screen. It's a feel good movie.
Lee, can I tell you a secret? Can I tell you a secret, Lee? I don't think I've ever seen this movie in my life.
Are you kidding me? All right, so put it down. It's vignettes. I think you'll love it. Colin Firth has never been better. Natalie Portman.
Now, I do like Natalie, especially the early stuff. But isn't Hugh Grant in it?
Hugh Grant's in it. Yeah,
that's all.
He plays the prime minister and he dances. You got Bill Nighy in there, who's awesome as a old drunk rocker from the 80s. I mean, there's where do you end? It's just you need to watch it.
Well, I will. I will. And it's a Christmas film, is what you're telling me. So maybe I'll.
Well, in the same vein that Die Hard is.
Die Hard. I knew you were gonna say Die Hard. Yes. I like this guy. All right, number 4.
Listen, I'm from the 80s, so how do you not put Breakfast Club in your fashion, the Brat Pack, music. You probably haven't seen that either, have you? You're looking like you haven't.
I have seen it. I have seen. I struggle. There's some low points that I struggle,
Well, it
I
wouldn't
have seen
play.
it.
Yeah, it wouldn't play today. I mean, again, you got to go time and place. So I appreciate that it might not make the cut today for some.
Yeah, yeah. Molly Ringwald, right?
So you've seen this list for the first time too. So these are just coming up with me. So nice.
Yeah, yeah. Number. What was it gonna? Number 3.
Do you have to say anything?
I mean, this is.
I mean,
good. This is good.
you do public motivational speaking, right? So seriously, how do you not play a clip of Rudy? Just if you feel it going down, like if you're in a room and you know what happens, right?
Like halfway through every episode. Why don't I just play Rudy?
No,
Rudiger.
you're in front of a big group of people, and listen, we've all done enough speaking that when you've lost the room, right? You just feel it. It's just the worst feeling in the world. Have Rudy freaking keyed up. It just brings the room back.
That's it. Hey, Stace, can we get a 30-second Rudy clip, please? Just for when I'm bombing, right? Okay.
Just at the end. It's just at the end of the movie.
Oh my gosh. No. Now Rudy, you got something with Rudy. Now, Rudy Rudiger, true story, walk on Notre Dame, played like one down. I don't know. But he was, great story.
Played one down. But he got a play out of it too, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. He made a play.
Broke up a play.
He did. He made a play. Was Forrest Whitaker in that?
Was that Forrest Whitaker? No, that wasn't Forrest Whitaker.
Who was it? Who's like the janitor guy?
That's not Forrest Whitaker. I don't think.
Can we get that in the comments, please? I feel really bad.
I feel bad too because he's been in a bunch of movies. He's a great character actor.
Yeah. I like how we're redeeming ourselves right now. Like we know, I promise we know Forrest Whitaker stuff. Last King of Scotland. Liz Martin, Ben is the Andy Cohen of Love and Relo.
You kind of are.
Number 2.
I snuck that one in there. So I'm almost guessing. If you haven't seen Love Actually, you probably have not seen About Time.
I was going to pronounce it About Time.
About Time.
What about? So is it about time or is it?
Yeah, it's a love story. It's a love story about time travel. Got Rachel McAdams in there again. Bill Nighy, who I'm always a favorite of. I love Bill Nighy.
Apparently, 2013 British comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Again, it's all about the heart. You're gonna feel love, and Love and Relo.
Yeah. All right. Can travel through history, but they can't change history. They can travel through time, but they can't. All right, I'll add that to the list.
Not to be confused with Outlander, by the way. Totally different show.
So these are your top 5.
Yeah, I'm pretty shallow. I'm pretty shallow.
Top 5.
Yeah, you wanted Ben-Hur in there, didn't you? Or Citizen Kane? Is what you're hoping for?
I would have taken Castaway. I would have taken a lot of things. About Time. Okay.
Castaway. So many issues with Castaway. So many issues with Castaway. We can't even. We don't even have time for that. How did that FedEx box actually not disintegrate? Come on.
Charles Dutton was in Rudy. Charles Dutton.
Yes.
Charles Dutton. I feel terrible. I feel like my whole life's a ruse now. All right, number 1.
You just have to put it all together there, right? Love story, science fiction, adventure story, great music. 4 Oscars, 40 nominations, 15 awards. Billy Bob Thornton, Ben Affleck,
in no particular order.
Ben Affleck, Bruce Willis. It's the show. Every time it's on, I have to watch it because it's going to finish great, and it just keeps me entertained.
Armageddon. All right. It was, okay.
Owen Wilson before rehab,
Pre-rehab Owen Wilson. Well, he's still doing it. I got to say, I might like Independence Day more than Armageddon.
There's a similarity there. They're certainly shot the same.
Yeah. No, this is Elena Anderson delay. Armageddon still holds up.
Thank you.
Unlike the rest of the top 5.
We have this conversation within my company literally at least once every 4 weeks. So for 20 years. So
this is great. Oh my gosh. This is fantastic. I gotta say, I've had such a good time, Lee. I didn't even care that we went over. My apologies to everybody that wanted this the whole time. I mean, I'm sure Lee made a lot of people come see this, and they're probably like, this probably blew up their account. This probably blew up their account. They're like, Lee, I thought this was supposed to be an hour. I thought that was too much. And here they are, an hour and 20 later.
Well, they're actually shocked I went over happy hour, because 5 o'clock is happy hour time, and we've burned 20 minutes into it.
That's great. Well, I know we're at the end of our time. Yes, people. Braveheart was snubbed.
Yeah, Braveheart. Yeah, there's a lot of snubs. There's a lot of snubs in there. I get that.
He literally went to IMDb, scrolled randomly, picked 5 films, put a 3-star filter on it, scrolled, and picked 5 films. No, seriously, Lee, though, these are great. I appreciate you sharing and being so honest, candid, and transparent with us. This is great. Barry says awesome information, guys. He must have tuned out earlier. I really had a lot of fun though, Lee, all kidding aside. Do you want to leave us maybe with a final thought though? A final piece of final nugget?
Lee? A nugget. Oh geez.
It's a nugget.
Listen, I'm a forever an optimist, and I think you brought it up earlier. I think we need to buckle up and get ready for a ride. I think optimism is warranted. And obviously be cautious as you step out, but it's coming. There's no indicator that says it isn't, and I think it's real. Sometime in the next 3 months, I think we're going to see the top pop off, and I think it's going to be great for all of those that survived this thing. And I think we'll be back. I think we'll be back together a lot sooner than we ever thought we would. So
I can't wait. I can't wait for a strong summer, strong 2021. I can't wait to see you and everybody else in person. Big hugs, cocktails. Sounds like a wonderful day.
Look forward to all of that.
Doesn't that sound amazing right now? Oh my goodness.
It does.
Sheesh. This is great. People had a really great time today, Lee. Thank you again, Lee. Lee Curtis, CEO and co-founder, Reside Worldwide. Thank you so much for being here today.
No, thanks for having me. Stay safe.